let's look into how to connect our app to the database. With our IDE open, so I'm clicking here to open my file section. And in this file section, this is what we have from the previous session, and we built this. We created this particular folder down before leaving, right? So today we are going to be working mostly around this. We are coming to start, so basically connecting the app to the database and secure the connection. Okay, so in this particular, you click on the folder that you have. Currently there's nothing inside, that's why there's nothing. When we are collapsing, nothing is showing. So we click on it before we select create a new file. Create a new file. The file that I'm going to call it database.py is going to be a Python file. So now, first, we need an engine. We said that the module that we downloaded that will allow us to translate or to communicate with the database mostly was SQL Alchemy, right? And Alchemy has it's a module that contains a lot of sub modules as well. So we don't need import, or we just import those that we need at every particular instance. So the first module that we will need is the engine, something that will create the engine. The engine is basically that will create the relationship between our app and then the database, right? Yes. So we are from SQL Alchemy import create engine. So this is what we are importing from SQL Alchemy first. These things you don't need to memorize them, but then try to understand why they are there and what they do, so that next time when we are creating a new system or new project, you don't have to come and start everything, but then you can have this as a template that you can build on, you can build future projects on. But it's very important for us to understand what each of these is, right? So mostly projects, when we start with the templates that we built already, like database connection and everything. We have them already. Then we just start building on it. Only few changes we do based on the need of the app. So for this one, we are trying to create a whole template from scratch. So you don't need to keep all this in mind all the time. But now let's understand how or what each of them is doing. Another module that will also import something from is the ORM from the SQL Alchemy. And here we are importing the session maker. And declarative base. The session maker is, I want you to see it in real life as something that is responsible for booking a meeting between your app and then the database anytime that you want to communicate with the database. Anytime the app wants to communicate with the database, we need to create a session or a particular meeting between them where they communicate whatever they want to do, and they close the connection, the communication. They close the communication and then proceed until another session that requires them to meet again and do those communication again. So session maker is the one responsible for making, or let's say see it as booking the meeting between them. And the declarative base is just this one is Python class, and it's a class base that Fast API has, that all the tables that we'll be using, all the tables that we'll be creating, because we said that SQL Alchemy, Postgres is relational database, meaning that we group items in tables. So we'll be needing to create tables. The tables that we'll be creating will be extracted from classes that we'll be writing in Python. So the tables that will be in the database will be extracted from the classes we built in Python, and these classes usually inherit. So all the classes, all the tables that we're doing will be extracting or inheriting from this particular parent class called the declarative database, a declarative base. We need it as the base class for all our models. Next, we need to import operating system, which is OS. So the OS allow us to do a lot of things. Manage, right? It's help to navigate your operating system, I mean your system, your machine, the operating system to handle files, and also to allow to also configure apps, and also import some stuff like um, what we created last time, the .env file, environment file. It also helps to navigate environment variable files, right? So because we have an environmental variables and we have our secret items inside them over there, we need the operating system to fetch them for us into the app. Right now we are actually in the app, so we need to find a way to fetch those secret things into the app without necessarily writing them in the app directly. Now we need an extra, because we are going to be working from the .env file. We are the fast API. There's a particular module that also takes care of that. .env, from .env we are going to import load.env. So it's just .env file because when we are writing the .env file, that's the name, right? That's just the module. It helps. This one particular one is going to help us load everything that we have in our .env file into our project. Basically, that's what we do. So the very first line after this will be using the .env file function. This one, like this. You see the difference between this one and this is that this one is acting as a function because there is this close parenthesis in front of it, and by this one is just the import that we did. So this very first section, let me put a comment there to load content of the .env file. So that's, let's say, our secret file. Yes, so this one is just to load it. Now that we have everything loaded, we are now going to fetch from the .env, everything loaded from the .env file. We are coming to get the database part, extracting the database part. This is a comment, right? So because it's going to be a constant, we are going to do database part equals to this. So we need the operating system to, it has a function called getEnv. Now you see it is inside the getEnv, right? It's calling the getEnv, and then the get environment variable, we have, of course, now we have loaded it here. This guy has loaded all the environment variable for us, and then the operating system is trying to access those environment variable that we have loaded into our project. But if this operating system get to the environment variable, there are variables there. There are a lot of variables there. Remember yesterday we have this, we have database URL, we have secret key, we have all that. So the operating system will be seeing all these 1, 2, 3, 4 variables. But the issue is how we need to specify which of the variables to fetch at a time. So if we need a secret key, we need to specify that we need to fetch the secret key. Over here, we need the database URL. So over here, we need to write the name of the variable as it is in the .env file URL. So yes, that's it. We have fetched the database part from the environment variable. So this particular one, this particular project, if you share it with others, it will be sent, but then your environment variable will not be shared with people. So they can only see the name of the variable, but they will not be seeing the content. Originally, if we are not having the .env file, we have to type this one, the content. We have to type this part directly in the project of the app, right? Which is not a good way of doing that. So we have an environment variable and we have loaded it, and now we are using the operating system to get all the environment variable as we want. So this first time we just extracted the database URL. Now let's get the engine created. So we have, remember, we've called the create engine at the top already. So that one, we are going to create the engine for the database parts that we just have. So this is the database parts that we have, and then we use the database part to create the engine. So we have an engine now. Good. Now before we proceed, we need to make sure that this engine is actually able to connect to the database. Let's see if it's possible to connect to the database. But before that, I want you to go to your Windows, right, or your search button. If you have downloaded the Postgresql, right, you will see you should search for pgadmin4 over here. I have mine open already. But then you search for it and then you open it down. When it opens up, you should see something like this. Mine have opened them. So first you open the server. When you open the server, they will ask you for password. So you enter your password. Me, I've opened my own down already. That's why. Then you'll come down. There's PostgreSQL. Then there are databases. And under the database, there's a default one which is Postgres. Yeah, that's what is there currently. But we are not going to use that. Right now, we don't have our own database. So this one contains all databases. The only database that we have here is Postgres. We don't have our own. What do I mean by we don't have our own? So you see, the name of our database in from the environment variable is FinanceDB. FinanceDB, right? But we don't have we don't have it inside the pgadmin4. We don't have it inside. We just have Postgres here. And the databases, we just have Postgres here. I will not create it now. I'm going to do something to let's try to connect it like this without having it and see what we'll have. But first, let's try and see if let's try and print this particular one. Let's print database part and see in our terminal and see if what will be printed, because we say this one is loading it, right, and then the operating system is getting it for us into the database part. But let's print into our terminal and see what will actually whether we'll actually be retrieving it from there. Let's open our terminal. Oh, I haven't opened it today. Yeah, terminal is open. Now I am in the expense tracker here, but then what we need to do that right now, we are not at the expense tracker. We need to enter the app because the file that we're running is inside the app. So now I'm going to teach you something small around navigation, path navigation using simple command. First, we want to move from expense tracker, right, into the app folder. We are at the expense tracker level here. That's the roots right now. That's where we are right now. That's the head. We need to get into the app, right? We need to get into that folder, the folder that contains the file database. So I'm going to get that. We call a command called cd. Cd just means change directory. In Linux systems, we call folders directories, but when you come to Windows, mostly we just call them folders. But we are changing directories. Basically, we are changing folders, right? Now we are at the roots level. We need to specify the folder that we are entering. We are changing to app because that's the name of the file, the folder that we have there. Changing to path, then you enter that. You see that currently I'm here, right? Hey, I've not activated the environment variable. Let me go back. So to go back one step back, we still do send cd. To go back to the root or the parent file, the parent folder, you do cd change directory again. Here you do two dots, space two dots, right? Change directory two dots. It means that go back to the parent folder. So we are going to leave here. This is not going to be a here. We are going back to get something like this. So let me do that. But why do I need to go back? Because I need to activate the environment variable first before, so that this place, the green thing will come before I can proceed. So I'm looking for that, and that is directly located inside the expense tracker folder. That's why I came back to do that. So now let's activate. Yeah, I'm activating my environment variable. Yeah, it's now activated. So now I need to go back to the app. I'm changing directory. I'm now in the app, and now let me run the database. So Python database.py. I want to run that file. Great. See what we have. We have it printed, right? So that's the database. From here, this is what we are printing. It is this line that we printed over here. So you see that we didn't hard code it, but then from the environment variable we have confirmed that we're able to load it, and we are able to the operating system is able to fetch it for us, and we have it printed. So we are sure that our database contains what it should contain, finance DB. Fine. Now let's go back. After we know that operating system has fetched the .env stuff for us, now let's go back. Let me lower this, and then let's try to see the connection first. I'm saying let me testing the database connection. Let's test the database connection first so that it will work or not. So use a try. I'm going to use a try. You know try and catch, right? Yeah, at least should know about try and catch. And then try and catch comes with the exception as as an error, right? Over here, if everything goes wrong, now say database connection failed, and I also print the error that results from there. Okay, but inside the try I need to connect with engine dot connect as connection. So we are trying to open this connection, then we print database connection is successful. Yeah, database connection is successful. So we are going to try this connection first. If it works, then fine. If it doesn't work, then we read the error, then go and figure it out. So basically here we are just testing the connection to make sure that we are able to connect to our database. So I hope you also try that. Let me run the file now, the updated file now. Database, I'm running it. Wow. Connection to server at localhost failed. Database finance DB does not exist. As I said earlier, we haven't created it. So I'm doing this to try it. So I see the database does not exist. The database does not exist. So the connection was not successful. So database connection failed. Right. So the try, there's an error in the try. When it was trying this thing, there was an error. So it returned this particular line for our this particular block of code for us. If you know about try, that's Python basics. Okay, now let's do the needful. So we need to go to our pgadmin and create our database. Finance DB is not here. So you hover over there, you select the database itself, you right click, and you go to create. Click or select database. Now here you need to give it a name. The name as it is in your code. So finance DB. I'm calling it finance DB exactly as it is. Then you save it. It's saved now. So I have my database created. So let's go back. It's now created. So let's go back to our code and then run it again and see if the connection will be done or not. Sharp. Yeah, it's done. So database connection is successful. Database connection was successful now because now it's able to find that there's that database finance DB inside the pgadmin file, so it's able to find it, so it's successful. So now we are sure that our database is connected. Now if our database is connected, we need some few things before we can leave everything here. We need to have a session local, something that will be handling the sessions. So we imported session maker, but we haven't used it, right? So session maker we are going to just store it inside this session local. So this guy will creating the meeting, right? And the meeting records will be inside this guy session local. Session maker is to create a meeting, as I said, between the database upon each interaction. But everything that we have, all the records that we have will be stored inside this variable session local, and then like whatever will happen in the meeting, maybe it's updated here, and this guy will now hold that particular update or record. So for session maker, this house is where there are some stuff that it takes, like auto commit. Auto commit just means that you'll be, when you do something, you'll be making changes or you want to save, right? If you allow auto commit, what will happen is that the system itself will be saving things automatically into the database. And database sensitive, you don't need to be just changing things automatically unless you yourself you call it. So you need to make auto commit, you need to set it to false, so that changes can only be applied when we have assigned it or we have instructed the system or the app to do so. So if not auto commit through, every small change that we do will be going to the database, and you know what it can cause. Auto flash as well. Auto flash as well. Let's also set it to false. It's also similar to auto commit, but then this one is used to flash the system. So auto commit is to save stuff, and then the auto flash is it's also similar to auto flashes of. I think in the next section I will clearly tell you the difference between the two of them. But auto flash is something that we need to also similar to auto commit. Okay, then we need to bind this particular session to the engine that we created. So the engine that we created at the top there, here we are going to bind it, the session local, to it, because this one is going to hold the record of every session with that. But then there is something that will also be holding alongside the base class. It's going to be a class, so classes starts with capital B, so it's just a base. So we are going to just keep the declarative base inside here. And remember, this one comes with open and close brackets at the end. The one we imported does not have it. Imports don't have that, but here they act as functions or methods. So this open bracket should be in front of it. That's all stored over here. But the connection of the database is down here. This base will be using it to create the models or the tables in our database. And then the session local will be recording, will be keeping, it's like keeping the record, or secretary that will be keeping the records between each session whenever a session is made. And then we bind it to the engine that we created, and the connection will be successful. Yeah, so this is how to save or do the database connection. And this file, you keep it, you keep it, you can update it, make changes based on the industry that you find yourself, right? But then let it be a template for you. You don't need to, every project, you don't need to type this in from scratch. But right now we have understood what each of them is doing, so you keep them as a template, then you update it, maybe you keep them in your GitHub very well, so that when any project calls up, then you just pull them up and you make changes accordingly. But this is how to connect your app to the database. So let's see what we can cover in the next session.